Hello everyone, and welcome to our afternoon session, which is led by Daisy from the Carers Trust and Caris and Tasha from the Civil Service Young Carers Network. So we're really looking forward to this session this afternoon. I've got Andrew in the background who's going to be publishing your questions, and he'll put a few other bits and pieces in the chat as well. So just before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. So if you have questions for any of our speakers, or any comments that you want to make, we would encourage you to use the Q&A function. And if you can start on a new comment for anything that you put in, because sometimes if you react to something that's already gone in, it gets a little bit lost along the way. So if you can start a new comment for anything, that would be great. Chat is disabled for this session. If you wish to ask a question or comment anonymously, that's absolutely fine. And what you'll see when you write your message is there's a little button, a little toggle thing that you can just click, and that will go on to anonymize. If you wish to use closed captions, that is also possible. If you look at the top of your screen where it says more and the three little dots, if you click on there, you will find that option for yourself as well. So just very quickly from me as well, Andrew will put this in the link for our feedback form into the Q&A. Sorry, having said the chat is disabled, into the Q&A a couple of times during the session. But if you prefer to just use this QR code with your phone now in preparation, that's really fine as well. We really hope that you will find just a couple of minutes at the end of the session to give us some feedback. We really want to make sure that these sessions meet the needs of our caring civil service community. And obviously the best way to do that is to get your feedback. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to hand over initially to Daisy, and then she is going to invite Tasha and Caris from the Young Carers Network to join her as well. So Daisy, I'm just going to bring you onto the screen. I'm going to take myself off. And is this your slideshow that you've now? Oh, hang on, I haven't stopped sharing. So there we are. Bring your slideshow on.
Can everyone see that? Are we good to go?
Yep.
Oh, lovely. Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me today for Carers Week to come and talk about carers and young adult carers and young carers, and this group of amazing young people that I have the absolute privilege to support. So just before we quickly crack on, just a little bit about who I am. So I work at Carers Trust on a really brilliant program. We support lots and lots, well over 1,000 young adult carers at this point, to kind of move on to kind of the destination that they want. So kind of really raising their aspirations, working with lots of different partners to expose young adult carers to jobs, to insight days, to opportunities to build their confidence. And we also provide lots of grants to local services as well to really support this group of young people that can be really hidden as well. I think especially, you know, they're teenagers, which is also really tricky, but having that caring role, it is a lot for them. But anyway, I'm going to kind of get going and talk a little bit about carers. So just a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to briefly talk about who we actually are at Carers Trust, what we do. I'd like to discuss a little bit about what it looks like for young adult carers out there. So the sort of key facts and stats. Understanding barriers, so what are those kind of barriers for young people that are carers. We've got a little video from one of our local services in Barnet, and then we're going to move on to hearing from Caris and Tasha about the network that you have, all about their experiences being carers, how they navigate work, and then we've got a little bit after from them both about kind of all the kind of in-house support that you've got, all that good practice, what you can do if you kind of need support or if you know anyone that does. A little bit of signposting my end, but then what we're going to do is move on to the Q&A at the end. So as they said, feel free to kind of pop those questions down as we go. So a little bit about us. We are a national charity with local impact. We provide funding and support, deliver really kind of amazing, innovative and evidence-based programs, and raise awareness and influence policy. Please do feel free to have a look on our website for a lot more information about what we do. We've got some really exciting things happening this week for Carers Week as well. So what's really important to know is, yes, Carers Trust is the national charity, but we partner with our network of about 136 local care organisations across the UK. At Carers Trust, we believe that every carer should find the right support close to home. For us, it's really fundamental that carers are not pushed to that crisis point. So it's about how we can expose carers and really signpost anyone that thinks they need that support to that local carer centre who have all of this fantastic support. And there's a couple of little pictures you can see on the screen. So we've got so the local services, they do some amazing stuff in terms of bringing carers together, giving them that respite. Young people, there's lots of programs there. So we support carers of all ages. So before I play this video, just to kind of explain a little bit more about who young and young adult carers are. So when we talk about young carers, we talk about young people that are under 18. So we often see carers kind of aged from kind of 4 years old, 5 years old, straight up to kind of 18, and that's what we call a young carer. And then from 18 to 25, that's what we would define as a young adult carer. And these are children, young people who are providing unpaid care and support for a family member, partner or friend. So caring can come in all different shapes and sizes, different types of responsibility. You've got different roles within that, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that in a minute as well. These young people could be doing a number of different things. So they could be caring for somebody with an illness, with a disability, mental health condition, addiction, or an age kind of related care need. So again, you're kind of looking at lots of different responsibilities that these young people have. Enough of me talking for a moment. What I want to do is show you this fantastic video that a partner of ours locally in Barnet, they made this video. It actually won an award, so we're really delighted for them. And it just talks a bit about who young carers are, what they do, and really how amazing they are. So I hope everyone can hear this.
In 5 seconds, my dad is going to have a sensory overload.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Can we have some help,
The
please?
security guard's going to ask questions. It won't help.
Focus on your breathing.
It's okay. I know what to do.
It's my best friend's birthday today. My mum's bedbound. At weekends I need to be in the house. It's okay. I know what to do.
That's my baby brother. He's about to have a meltdown. We've got some milk, some flour, and eggs. I know what to do.
That's my dad. He's going to tell me he's ruined my childhood. He always says that. But it's okay. I know what to do.
This is the 5th time we've had this bill in this month. And I don't know what to do.
You haven't ruined my childhood. We have a love like no other.
I'll see you in 5 minutes.
Breathe in.
Hi. Thanks. You're not coming in? You're not
No,
coming?
sorry. Got to give my mum.
Hold. And out.
There are over 800,000 young carers in the UK today. At That's 1 in every 5 children. Help us let young carers know you care too, and give them the life they deserve.
Really fab video, and the video was produced by the young adult carers based in Barnet, which is really cool. They kind of help produce it, so that's absolutely amazing. So just a little bit about kind of what it looks like out there at the moment. So the video said, you know, kind of the stats at the end, but actually we know that there are now over 1 million young carers in the UK. And there's about 500,000 young adult carers, so a significant amount of young people across the UK are caring. We believe there are many, many more because actually a lot of young people don't identify. They're not kind of on the radar of schools and local services, colleges, universities, and employers. So we know that that number is likely to be a lot more. I won't go through all the stats here, but you can see a couple of really key ones. You know, young carers are missing nearly a month of school a year. And that's kind of impacting all those kind of key transitioning points to becoming adults and then moving on to work. We have some really interesting new information in the last kind of week from the Nuffield Health Foundation, and that the research that we've been doing with them that has highlighted that young adult carers are 119%, which equates to 2 times more likely to be persistently neat than their peers. So a really significant number of young people are in that category. And when I say neat, I mean not in education, training and employment. And I think at the moment we are, you know, in a kind of a climate where we're seeing kind of high youth employment numbers. So I think it's really thinking about this cohort that are out there that are not being supported. But besides that, something that I think is really important that I wanted to add before we kind of move on to hearing from lovely colleagues is that young adult carers have a fantastic range of skills that they've developed from caring, which are really valuable to employers and really important. And they're really sought after. So I think when we're thinking about who we're hiring, who we're meeting, how we're supporting young people in the workplace, we're thinking about all those skills that they've learned, right? So as a young adult carer, communication is going to be really important because you're talking to healthcare visitors, you're talking to your schools, you're potentially having to translate for the person that you care for. You are in a position where you're having to talk about that person and how they're needing to be supported. We also know that time management's really important, making those really big decisions as well. And also what young adult carers tell us is that kind of that emotional intelligence, you know, they really understand how to support people, how to have teamwork, how to work with other people, and kind of, yeah, making those decisions. And advocacy is a really important one as well. So when we're looking at young people, getting them into work, how to support them, this group of young people are absolutely amazing and should not be underestimated at all. Just a quick one from my perspective. In terms of barriers, it might sound really obvious, but we know that a lot of carers aren't coming forward, aren't identifying themselves. And a lot of that is because they just simply think that they are being, you know, a son or daughter, a parent, they're just looking after their loved one. So it's not something that they're identifying themselves as, which can make it even more difficult at times. Caring can happen really gradually. So you might start off kind of helping here and there, and actually it becomes the case that you're doing a lot more caring, and actually then that's really impacting your day-to-day life as well. I think it takes up to 2 years for somebody to realize that they're kind of a carer, or they're doing more than they usually would be doing. So it's not always easy to pinpoint. And I think more importantly for the young people that we talk to, the fear of those negative consequences if they told their school, their college, their university, an employer that they're a carer, you know, is that employer going to understand? Are they going to have support that they need? Is it going to be really detrimental to their kind of future and their career progression? So yeah, I think something to always just be really mindful of when we're talking to young people is, yeah, having that open, safe space for them. And I've got here a little bit of a kind of a useful question that you could potentially ask, or one could ask. And I think it's just really understanding, is being a carer impacting all the other parts of their lives? Not just work, but as a young person. So yeah, I believe that my lovely colleagues, Karis and Tasha, will be talking a little bit about this as well. And on that note, I shall introduce them both. So if you could please both come on, and it would be really lovely to hear about the Civil Service Network.
Hello, so I'm Tasha, and me, Karis, and two other people run the Young Adult Carers Network across the civil service. So a little bit like Daisy, we support people that are in their early careers that are also carers at home. We do this by having a series of peer education sessions where we support people who are in similar situations to us. We'll get more into our stories in a little while. And we also provide some line manager support for people. So we've trained some line managers on how to spot young adult carers, but also how to support carers in general with carers passports and things like that. Alongside this, we run some sessions about career development. So I think one of the biggest things that our members tell us is that they don't just want to be a young adult carer, they also want to develop their career. Otherwise, what's the point in starting a journey in the civil service? And that can be quite hard to go through when you're a carer, because you have to manage those expectations and things. So we get our senior colleagues who are also carers to come in to talk to us about how they manage their caring role alongside a more senior high level job. And that really inspires a lot of our young members to apply for that next promotion or talk to their line manager about what the next steps could be for them. So that's a bit of a nutshell about our carers network.
Okay, so I'm going to pass over to, who have we got first? Tasha.
Oh,
there you
I'll
are.
carry on talking. Lovely. So a little introduction from me. So hi, I'm Tasha. I've been in the civil service about 5 years. I look after my mum. She has Parkinson's disease and scoliosis and a sort of form of epilepsy. And I have a carer's passport within my organisation, and I also go to carers meetings with other young adult carers, and that's kind of my story. Caris, do you want to come in?
Yes, hi everyone, I'm Karis and I've been in the civil service for about 7 years, and I'm currently working on the independent maternity and neonatal investigation. So it's really meaningful work, and I guess one early top tip for me is that to try and do a job that means something to you, because it can motivate you to keep coming into work even when you do have hard days looking after your loved one. So I'm a carer for my dad who had a stroke about 4 years ago and now lives with vascular dementia and Alzheimer's. And it was all very sudden. I know Daisy mentioned earlier that it can happen gradually, like your care responsibilities can gradually grow, but mine was all very sudden. So yeah, like my dad just collapsed in a shopping car park and we didn't know where he was. And then later on that evening, the hospital called us. And so 1 minute I was at work in meetings, and the next minute I was rushing to hospital. So he was in hospital for about 2 months, and I was there every day advocating for him, trying to understand what he'd need. And I didn't immediately call myself a carer. I was just helping my dad, but it took time to realize that what I was doing was caring and I was classified as a carer. Um, and yeah, as I said, things gradually suddenly changed. So my dad used to be like the life of the party, and he would also always drop me to my parties and was always fixing things, and he always cooked for me. And then the roles have completely reversed, where I'm taking him to appointments and feeding him, etc. And so it has been very challenging, especially balancing it with work. I think there was one day that I had a complete breakdown and I called my council to find out what support they can give me. And they did a carers assessment for me. And then they gave me £200 Tesco gift voucher, which was lovely, and offered me 53 hours of respite, which involves someone coming around and just sitting with my dad for an hour. So I do recommend reaching out to your council or your local GP to find out what support you can get. And my dad's needs have changed over time. He used to be quite mobile until his fall 2 years ago. And so he needs more support, and he needs like two people to hold him to move around. And yeah, so there has been a bit of a decline. As I said, he also now has dementia and Alzheimer's. So my role includes like supporting with daily care and mobility, managing appointments, handling finances and admin. And I recently just got lasting power of attorney as well, which I also recommend everyone has as well. Also providing emotional support for my dad. So I had never seen my dad cry before his stroke, but since his stroke, I've seen him cry often and get frustrated quite often, and I have to be understanding, constantly making sure he's okay. And encourage him to speak about how he feels, which can be quite hard for him as he's not been used to doing that. And then I'm just constantly responding to things that may happen, like an infection or a fall or change in behavior, and it can be quite unpredictable. And yeah, so currently in my role, I'm on compressed hours. I did consider going part-time, but I didn't want to take the pay cut. So I've got a lot of support from my managers. I also have a carer's passport like Tasha, which I also recommend everyone having to help support those conversations with your line managers and your team about what support and flexibilities you need. And yeah, I'll stop there because I realise I've spoken quite a bit.
No, that's amazing. I think it's really good to hear about your experience and how you kind of navigated it as well. Especially, I think what you're kind of saying about how it changes as well, so actually there might be times when you've got appointments, you've got things going on, and almost responding to your dad and his caring role at the time, and then maybe things are maybe a bit quieter for a little bit. Obviously that role is still really important, but actually it's having that manager and that carer's passport, so that you don't have to explain. You just kind of say, this is what's happening right now, and I suppose if managers change or situation change at work, you're not having to start from scratch again, right? So that's the kind of the beauty of the thing. And just a quick question from you both. You've got the kind of this kind of group, this carers group, that you meet. It would be really nice to know a little bit about, is there a social aspect to it as well? Is there kind of any other initiatives that come with being part of that group? Have you found that you kind of connected with others, if you know what I mean? It's kind of that unexpected groups that,
I think for me, like, it's finding people that are my age, because my mum's condition is associated with older people, and obviously she's not old. So it's finding someone that actually has the same like sort of life experience as me. Like, we're both in early career, we both have the same sort of parent issues, not issues, but like, management of like medications and like Karis was saying, personal care and all that sort of stuff. But finding someone else that's going through the same processes, that has to go through the same hoops, as it were, to get to the right support, and but also being our age is quite helpful. It's really, really definitely made me feel less isolated, which is one thing that I did feel when I was younger. Before when I was at school and stuff, it was quite isolating. So actually coming in to work in the civil service has actually made me feel a lot less isolated. Yeah, I don't know about you, Karis.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it just makes you feel less alone, like what Tasha was saying, and just hearing people express things that you may be feeling, like saying that they're exhausted, or they're the person that they're caring for is refusing to take their medication or refusing to eat, and then you just feel validated and seen, and you're just connecting with people that get it, because my colleagues and my family are not caring for someone, and so they don't understand the impact that it may have on me. And so yeah, connecting with people of similar age range is very helpful, and also learning practical tips as well about like what to write in your carer's passport and how to approach different conversations at work, and even finding about support schemes that are in place, such as this, I always talk about this, but the CEA card, which is about getting a free cinema ticket as a carer. and like there's a website called Discount for Carers that you can sign up to. So like I learned all about that from attending and hosting these informal catch-ups that we do monthly. And yeah, just learning about the different flexibilities that people have, like learning about compressed hours or flexi working, or how to ask for more time working at home than in the office, etc. So yeah, it's been a great thing to be a part of, I would say.
Yeah, it's having those tools, right? Having the tools that then you can, and also helping others, so that actually if you spot or recognize that somebody might be in a similar situation or might need that help, it's kind of like actually knowing what they need to do to go forward for that support. And on the other slide here, it would be great if you could both kind of talk a little bit to it, but just a little bit more about the kind of carers passport, maybe those conversations with those line managers. It would be lovely to know kind of your perspective on that, how it's worked for you, and any recommendations you might have.
I can start. So initially when I started at the civil service, I didn't actually have a carer's passport and I didn't tell anybody about my caring role. And then I basically had a bit of a breakdown because everything was too much. At some point it was a crisis, and then somebody suggested that I get a carer's passport, and actually it's been really, really helpful because like a lot of people in the civil service, I've been through quite a few line managers. So it starts that open door for a conversation more than anything else. It gives you a jumping board to start off rather than having to start the conversation cold. Mine's been updated to include things like, for example, I work in the office an awful lot, but my carer's passport allows me to ask for adjustments on that. So for example, I had a meeting that started at 10 on a Monday morning, and that was quite difficult for me to get to with my commute into work as well. And I was having to get up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and now the meeting's at 11, so I can leave slightly later. So I'm actually going to get up at 6 o'clock rather than 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which obviously in my world makes a massive difference. Just those couple of extra hours in bed is bliss. So it's all that kind of thing, and it's being able to explain my caring needs without having to sit there and explain my caring needs when I'm quite busy anyway. Yeah, I know that Jamie, he's not on our call today. He's used his caring passport to be able to work from home. So he's a permanent contractual home worker, and he looks after his sister. So it's helped him in that sort of senses as well. I don't know about you, Karis.
Yeah, definitely. I think also on the Charity for Civil Servants website, there's a digital tool which helps you write a carer's statement and carer's passport. So if you're not sure of what to write, it asks you helpful questions and prompts, which I've used before as well, because sometimes it's hard to articulate what flexibilities or what you may need. And I definitely didn't know at the start. And I think it's also helpful to have a conversation with your line manager about what you think you may need, and they may have suggestions of how they could support you as well that you may not have even considered, because I never considered doing compressed hours. I didn't even know what that was until I I came back to work after what had happened, and I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to manage this. And then the option came up. So and also as a civil servant, you have access to the Employer Assistance Program, which is EAP, for psychological support. So I've used that service before. It's just a free helpline where you can get counselling. And I've also used therapy through this Charity for Civil Servants as well, which I would also highly recommend. And I'm not afraid to talk about therapy. I feel like everyone should be open to therapy, especially caring is very difficult, and it can be very unpredictable, and it is kind of hard to balance it with your work life / home life / relationship life, etc. So sometimes having someone to speak to that's impartial or may even get it is just really therapeutic, I can say. And yeah, I'm just looking at what else is on this slide.
I have a question for
yeah.
you both. What do you think? So when we talk to a lot of young adult carers about kind of the workplace, they often say that it's just having that sympathetic ear, that person that can kind of listen and understand. From your perspectives, because I'm guessing there'll be, there will be managers on the call today, maybe listening in, thinking, I think I know somebody who might in my team who might be, a carer, a young adult carer, or they might be a carer themselves wanting to broach that conversation. What do you think has been the kind of single most kind of beneficial thing for you in that situation when you're sort of navigating those early stages of being a carer within that workplace kind of environment?
So for me, I transitioned from being a young carer to being a young adult carer. So actually getting my first job was great. But then when I got a job in civil service and I had to work in the office all the time, it was quite a lot to manage. And it was a very daunting conversation to have because I didn't want it to impact my career. I am motivated. I do want to do well in life. I don't want to be stuck at a very low pay band forever and ever. But just knowing that I had the carer's passport documents from the civil service website, the Charity for Civil Servants website, and it was very, very useful to just know that I had the toolkit to start that conversation. And just knowing that the person on the other side of it's not like a robot, so they are going to understand probably what I'm talking about at least a little bit, even if they don't fully understand what my day-to-day looks like. I don't know about you, Karis.
Yeah, I think I've been quite lucky in having supportive line managers that haven't judged me for the flexibilities that I've asked for and haven't made me feel like I'm underperforming or anything. If anything, I've received a lot of praise for how I've managed to do what I'm doing at home whilst also performing well at work. And also I'm quite an I'm an open person and I like to show vulnerabilities. And in my previous roles, I've had seniors that have shown vulnerabilities. And my deputy director at one of my previous jobs was also caring for her daughter, and she just got it. And we had emotional chats. We had chats where we were like crying on the call. And I feel like I can be quite open at work. And I know not everyone has that luxury of having like a line manager or people within their team that they can connect with or feel like they can be open with. But you may want to seek out a buddy, or even attending our young adult carer informal catch-ups. You may find someone that you can relate to on those calls. And I've had separate chats with people that I've met on those network calls that I've been able to speak to and get advice from and get that support. And sometimes you may need someone to tell you what to say to your line manager or tell you what to put on your carer's passport, etc. But majority of people in the civil service are really nice and understanding and are human. So I hope that no one has had an issue with asking for flexibilities, etc. But we're also here to help. Well, I am. I don't want to speak for Tasha just because I know you've got a lot on as well. But if you ever do want to message me, I can put my email in the chat as well. Because that's it from me.
Thank you both so much. And Karis, the one thing that you mentioned that I thought was really, really interesting as well is that having those like champions, people in your organization that can openly talk about being a carer, and maybe that person actually almost being more of a senior position as well, and saying, I'm doing this job, I am also a carer, and I also then expect that as a kind of a culture that we all support each other, we are a community. And I think that's something really valuable. And I would say that when we talk to young adult carers, when they're looking for jobs, they will look on those websites and really get a sense of, is this organization going to be the right organization for me? So I think it's those role models being really visible online about who you are and how you support your colleagues is absolutely vital. And all the young adult carers I meet are just incredible, and they are thinking, where's my training, where's my development, where's my career growth? Then that is the forefront. Is this organization going to be the right fit for me? So absolutely. Just wanted to move on just very briefly, just to mention that as they both mentioned, you know, there's lots of external support as well to support carers. There are so many charities that can do that, and also specialist charities, right? Depending on what that caring role might look like. At Carers Trust, I think I mentioned we have this network of 136 local care organisations, and they are those sort of local specialists. So they are absolutely fantastic. If you go on our website, you can search your put your postcode in, and it will come up with like all your local services, what they do, how they can support you, all the contact details as well. So please do signpost, please do go on it, have a look, see what support is out there. When you get in touch with your local service, that is when they can kind of give you that real support, you know, whether it's an assessment, that respite, funding, grants, bursaries, whatever it might be that you need for your caring role. Those are what those local services do. They're absolutely brilliant, and all that information, as I said, is on our website. I also just wanted to mention Carers UK as well, because they offer lots of support as well, and they have a lot of information on there about like particular policies and stuff as well. So I think sometimes it's quite good to kind of have a look at their website. They've got a lot of information there, and they work with employers as well. Loads on socials this week as well. So if you're kind of wanting to know what's going on with Carers Week, there's some brilliant stuff. There's some great documentaries, great videos, great research that's coming out this week. So get in your Twitter, your LinkedIn, everywhere. It's absolutely flooded at the moment. There's some brilliant videos that I've seen out there this week as well. We're going to move on to the Q&A, if that's okay with everyone. And we'll see how we go, and then kind of what questions are coming in, and go from there. Kath, is that okay?
Great, thank you. Shall I take your slides off the screen?
Yes, do. Yes, yeah, perfect.
Well, that's lovely. Thank you, all three of you, for that's such a great and interesting session. And we're going to have to start with the first question, which we've had several times, the same question. How can we join the Young Adult Carers Network?
So you can contact myself. I've put my email in the Q&A box. Yeah, then we can add you to the network membership, and you will be invited to our future meetings and events and any correspondence we do.
I'm interested, you've said there's no age limit. So is it more about if you feel that you're a young adult carer?
Yes, I am very late 20s, and so and we have people that may be in their 30s as well, or even if you want to be an ally and you class yourself as an older adult carer and you just want to hear experiences from young adult carers, or you just want to share your support or your experience, then you're welcome to join as well.
Brilliant, thank you. So just it's caris.grayson, caris.grayson, greyson at dhsc.gov.uk. Lovely, thank you for that. And there's also been a couple of questions about carers passports. I mean, I think for the people that were asking about, oh, what should we put in it? I think you've given quite a few examples in terms of working patterns, and but I think you also mentioned that that's something you could discuss, that the young carers, the Young Adult Carers Network could support with. Tasha, I don't know if you want to take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can talk to you guys about working patterns and stuff. Like I said, our network is chaired by Caris, who works compressed hours, Jamie, who's a home worker. I work in a job that is very, very difficult to do from home. So that kind of adds a little bit of an extra balance on to like, how do you manage that sort of thing? Because not everybody is entitled to the same flexibilities dependent on their job role. So yeah, we're welcome to talk about that in the informal catch-ups.
And I think as Caris, you alluded to as well, didn't you, that actually when you spoke to your manager actually came up with things that you might not have thought of before as well.
Yes, definitely. So I think they can help you to develop your own carer's passport, because everyone's will be different. But I just basically said what a typical day looks like for me, and that I may need to answer calls at unexpected times or go off to appointments, and I need to have a lunchtime hour rather than 20-30 minutes, etc. So yeah, it's good to have a chat with your line manager to discuss what you may need.
There is a question here about, well, there's been a couple of questions in the chat about, like, if I have a carer's passport, how many days leave am I entitled to? And another question about leave as well. I mean, what I can say that I understand, and then maybe just check whether any of you three want to add anything more, is that the Carers Leave Act came into force in April 2024, I think, but possibly 2025. Anyway, and it does entitle you to some unpaid carers leave days, a limited number, but they don't need to be paid. So it doesn't actually reduce the number of, you can't actually reduce the number of hours that you work on it via a carer's passport. But I don't know if any of you would want to add anything to that.
Yeah, so I'm quite happy to add into that. So yeah, like you were saying, there is the unpaid carers leave. Some organisations like mine offer special paid leave for domestic emergencies. So I have previously had 3 days where I've been paid for caring because my caring circumstances got to the point where I couldn't manage my role and my home life, and my manager said, just take this special paid leave. But I've also taken a day of unpaid carers leave as well, and it's quite easy. You don't, for the unpaid carers leave within my organisation, you don't have to give a reason, but you do have to book it in advance. So that's something to bear in mind.
Daisy, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah.
Karis has just had to drop out for a couple of minutes, but I think she'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Tasha's right. I think it's about finding out, because different parts of the organization might have different things, and we know that obviously different organizations have different things in place. So some organizations, they will have, so it's 2 weeks of leave that you can take, and it is usually unpaid. Some organizations have 2 weeks paid, some have 2 weeks unpaid leave, and I think depending on the organization, I think like Tasha said, that has to be kind of arranged in advance. Others, there is more flexibility that you can take that leave as and when, and you don't have to just take the block of 2 weeks. You know, it might just be that throughout the year you're taking on and off depending on what it is. So I think there is a real level of flexibility there, and there are other things as well that you can request. So there's obviously kind of unpaid cares leave, but I believe there are other kind of legal types of leave that you can take depending on kind of how that fits within your caring role. So I think it's just making sure that you're really kind of well equipped in knowing exactly what you're entitled to. And that's, I suppose, why it's really important that managers have a real kind of firm understanding of what in my organization can my kind of employees take. But yeah.
I was just going to chip in to say, I would say that as well, like a lot of civil service departments offer like flexi time or like sort of flexi schemes where they can build up hours and stuff. So that's one thing that I would say is really, really important to keep in mind when you are thinking about what caring flexibilities you might need or might want. I particularly really like my works flexi scheme. It's what I use most of the time for my caring role, and it's just extra hours that I work over the top, and then I take them back when I need them. So that's one of the things that I would say the civil service writ large has, is flexibility. So it's just finding the right fit for you.
And as you said before, Tasha, as well, there will be different things depending on the role that you're in and how flexible it can be in those. Okay, I'm going to actually come to some. I mean, those were a few themes, but I'm just going to come to a few of the questions that we've actually got in the chat. It's great. We've got plenty of time at the moment. So somebody here who became a carer for their mother, who had a severe brain injury. So the person was 30 when she actually became the carer, but the brain tumour has been present and undetected since she was 13. So this person feels that they're only just coming to terms with a young carer now, even though they're 30. And then she's asked, this person is asking whether there's a limit with young adult carers. But I guess that perhaps, Caris, comes back to what you were saying around there isn't that age limit, and that might be your network might be a place they could start.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's definitely no age. I still see myself as a young adult carer, even though I'm basically 30 next year. So yeah, there's no age limit with that. And yeah, we would love to support you as well. Feel free to reach out to me personally as well if you want to have a chat. because I know it can feel lonely at times. So yeah.
Is there anything anyone, either Asher or Daisy, want to add?
I think all I was going to add is kind of outside from the kind of the young adult care network that you've got, there will be lots of local services that offer lots of peer support and kind of friendship groups as well. So I think it's maybe like finding your kind of tribe and that community of people, and there'll be lots of that locally as well. So it's, yeah, I think it's doing a little bit of research, and it's not really uncommon that people have been caring for a very long time and then they suddenly realize, oh gosh, I've been doing this for 20 years, or that's probably the likeliness actually, is that people come to it kind of a lot later. So yeah, just make sure that you get all the support you need.
And I've got one here about people whose caring responsibilities have stopped. So a lot of support seems to be for people who are actively caring. What's available, or what would you recommend for young adults whose caring role has stopped, maybe due to the death of the person that they cared for? But their caring experiences have affected their prospects, confidence, well-being, and so on.
I'm happy to take this, Kath. So within the wider civil service carers network, there is a grief and bereavement section. So if you want more details, email Caris and I'll get those to you via Caris, if that's okay. They run grief and bereavement cafes that you can go to talk to other people that have lost somebody that they used to care for. They meet like every quarter or so, and then there's also the civil service wide grief cafes. If you are interested in those, they're run by Keela Shackle-Smith. I can put her details probably in the chat as well.
I don't know if Daisy, if you want to add anything outside the civil service. That's
yeah, no, again, Carers Trust will be able to support with that as well. So kind of finding those, even if your caring role's ended, you can kind of contact your local care centre and they will know and kind of signpost you to support as well.
I've got a question about accessing therapy, which I think you talked about, Caris. I mean, I'll just respond. I mean, obviously, whichever department you're in, you will have access to your employee assistance provider, where you should be entitled to up to 6 sessions of counselling. If you make an application to the charity, well, if you come to the charity, there are various routes that you might be able to access some therapy. You can download the Thrive Wellbeing app, where you can actually use the chat function in the app to request some counselling sessions, and they will do an assessment with you, and then you'll be on a short waiting list. Again, it's like the employee assistance provider. It's not long term, but it's a great intervention. Sometimes as well, through the charity, we can look at supporting through a financial application to fund other types of therapy as well. And then obviously there may be things through the NHS as well. Just looking. Okay, this is an interesting one. I'm on the call because my 6-year-old son is a young carer for his older sister. I'm interested to hear whether the speakers would have found it helpful to have been acknowledged at a young age as being a young carer, and what support would have been helpful at school or elsewhere. So maybe that could be Tasha and Caris, but then also Daisy, maybe to talk a little bit more about what is actually out there for the young carers as well.
Sure. So I started my caring role when I was probably, I don't know, maybe 10, like formally started caring when I was about 10. And at the time, obviously, I'm not that young, so schools weren't really that good at recognizing it, and I did feel quite alone. And when I was having to take time off, I was making excuses as to why I was having to leave school and things. So it was very, very difficult. But then as I got older, sort of into my early, well, I just left school. Then I got in contact with a carers organisation, and they were really good. They offered free trips and fun activities and stuff. So I would definitely say it's worth reaching out. Just for the fun activities that they do with really young carers. And also it just means that they will find other people that, like I said, it can feel quite isolating when you're looking after someone and you don't have somebody else and that's your age that you can relate to. So it will probably help with that sort of isolation feeling as they grow up.
Daisy, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Yeah, So a lot is changing at the moment in the UK in general in terms of how we recognise and support young carers. The kind of general statistic is there is probably about 2 young carers in every classroom, so a real significant number. Carers Trust have been working with Ofsted, and I think it's now 3rd year where Ofsted now, as a kind of a requirement for schools, they have to identify and register, mark who in their schools are young carers, and then they can, signpost them to that support. Obviously, we've got a long way to go, but there is a lot of kind of movement happening in that space. I think, as Tasha said, there is great groups out there for young people. To have respite, I think, is really important, to go somewhere that's kind of outside of their kind of caring role and space and meeting other young people, kind of having lots of fun. There's lots of activities, and that comes with some really interesting things as well. So, there'll be kind of grants and bursaries that can be offered to the young person and the family for support. Trips away, lots of other initiatives as well. And I suppose it's just exposing the kind of person that's caring to peers, and getting all the support they need. So yeah, from my perspective, all loads of support, but I think in the UK we're probably, we're working really hard to really change how young people are recognised.
Harris, did you want to add anything to that? I've got a couple here. Mostly they are comments, but you may want to add something to it. So somebody here has said, I found the carers of SEN children chat/meetings really supportive. I have a comprehensive passport, mainly noting carers leave appointments and a bit of you may see chaos when I'm on Teams on it. So that's great to hear that support is there. I don't think that as a charity we're aware of that group. And I don't know how many people in the audience would be. I mean, I'm aware that the person that's put that comment down has commented as anonymous, but if you feel able to put anything down about the contacts for that group, that would be really, really helpful. I've got somebody here as well. I take my carers leave in 1 hour slots, in hour slots, mostly appointments. So it doesn't make sense to do a whole day, but save them up to enter a day's worth on SOP, which must be a civil service technical term for something like a timesheet, I'm going to guess, because it will only let you log a day. I don't know, Caris or Tasha, whether you've been able to do that kind of creative use of the time.
Yeah, so our accountant system is similar. We log hours in 0.4 of an hour, so everything's a little bit confusing, and I'm sure a lot of other people's systems are a little bit antiquated and confusing. So it's definitely worth keeping a log of things on maybe in a separate spreadsheet. Always helps. And yeah, I do mine, like I said, usually using my flexi time, so it's a little bit different for me, but it will just take it off, but I have to calculate the 0.4 hour difference every time I try and take any leave. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that one.
Yes, yeah, but Caris, I think you talked about using quite a lot both talked about using quite a lot of flex as well, haven't you? And yeah, we have information now put in the chat about the SEN children's parents group as well. We've come to the end of the chat. I mean, one of the things that I've really noticed is we've talked a lot of, you've talked quite a lot about kind of the loneliness of doing something that most of your peers are not doing. Because by the time you get to my age, loads of people have got elderly parents or whatever, and they are carers. But I think, when you're much younger, it is, and you've talked about kind of negotiating work within that, but I'm kind of interested in how do you negotiate other things like your friendships around that as well. I don't know whether you would feel able to answer. Where do you find time for things? It's like getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning. It just sounds like so relentless.
Yeah, I'll start and then I'll see if Caris wants to join. So yeah, it can be quite challenging. I did move out and then I've had to move back. So I've got a whole house's worth of stuff in my family's attic, bless them. But yeah, so it can be a little bit different to what other people's journey looks like. You know, a lot of people expect to grow up, move out, get married, have children, and have a social life, and it doesn't always work out that way for me anyway, particularly. But it's just, like I said, I've grown up with it, so it's quite normal for me to kind of decline things because I know that it's not going to fit around my role and my work life, or my whatever gets in the way of things. So yeah, that's kind of me. I don't know about you, Karis.
So I do get support. It never started like that, but I do get carers coming in 4 times a day. And so sometimes I use those moments where I know that my dad's not gonna be alone for a long period of time to visit friends. I also use my compressed hours as well. So I get every other Friday off, every other Monday off, which works out in being a beautiful 4-day weekend. So I sometimes use those days to go out. And then if I do choose to go on holiday as well, I often organize respite care for my dad. So he would go to a nursing home for 2 weeks, or however long I'm on holiday, so that he's somewhere safe whilst I'm away, because I love to go on holiday and it's like my little escape, or my chance to just see life outside of caring at home. But yeah, as Tasha was saying, it is hard to think about what life is going to be like, because yes, I do want to get married and move out and have children, etc., but it is hard to think about how that's going to be possible with living with my dad at home. So yeah, it is something that I'm still navigating, worried about, etc., but it will all work out. And I just have to make sure I have the right support in place to be able to get things that I want to get done. And just, yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much to both of you for sharing that. And I guess the two messages that I kind of picked up from that was like making the most of the time, the little times, even if it's not like a massive block of time, but making the most of the little times. And also like you were mentioning, Karis, actually using the services that are available as well. So we're really coming towards the end. I don't know if any of you have got any final comments or thoughts that you want to add before we finish.
Just thank you for having me. Yeah, really appreciate coming and talking. And yeah, great to see so many people turn up as well. Feel free to reach out to myself, to anyone at Carers Trust if you want to have a chat. Didn't want to kind of go on too much because I think it's much more important that we hear from you lot and about your lives and your experiences, but really happy to come back anytime and delve deeper into it all.
Thank you. Anything more from you, Tasha or Karen?
Thank you so much for having us. And yes, please do join our network if you feel like it would be helpful for you. And yes, we see you, carers, and we want to know that there's support all around in different places that you may not expect, whether that be a colleague at work or your GP or the council or Charity for Civil Servants or Carers Trust. So just look for different ways to get support. And I would also like to, if anyone has someone that they're caring for that has dementia, sorry, I forgot to mention this, the Admiral nurses at Dementia UK are great, and you can have free online sessions with them to just talk about any concerns you have, to learn about the symptoms, etc. Because I've had to learn more about the condition because my dad has it. So yeah, I recommend that service as well.
Thank you. I'm going to finish with just this last comment that's just come up in the chat, which says, "This webinar healed me." Thank you guys so much. That's the power of a session like this. So thank you all so much for your time today. You know, it's obviously been very, very well received, and yeah, we really appreciate your time. So thank you very much for everything.
Thank you.